Like everything's kind of
Yeah.
about them. It's not really
Yeah.
about the fans. It's not really about, you know,
Yeah.
the
Well,
organization that much. I mean, I don't know. I might be talking out of my butt, but you know what I mean? Like,
I saw something interesting though about like big players and stuff like that,
mhm,
about how they don't the actual in-game stuff that they do.
mhm.
Everything they do is for a highlight now. It's not necessarily fundamental or even good basketball. When's the last time you've seen someone like, oh look at this team doing great passing? I mean, like you see it, but it's like it's not on the highlights, and that's what people watch.
Mhm.
So players are aware of this now. So now everything they do is like some kind of crazy move, and then they're taking it to the hole, and they do some kind of crazy finish or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's like maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's because it's become so much of a show
Mhm.
now instead of like a sport.
Yeah, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not like real basketball, I
Yeah, it's
guess,
not
you
it's not
know?
real anymore. And I feel it
Yeah.
just and you know what, that might be it. Cause sometimes I'll be watching mainly the regular season, not so much the playoffs, because I think teams are trying to win, but definitely regular season when teams are a little bit more lazy, like they're not really playing for a whole lot. It's kind of like, man, this team's just kind of manufactured almost. It's like, oh
Yeah. It's kinda like
man,
the Harlem Globetrotters a little bit out there
yeah,
right now. Yeah. That's kind of what it does. It is kind of what it feels like. Even like you watch like your favorite player, like let's take a LeBron. Even though he is older, sometimes you watch LeBron play and you're like, what? Like,
yeah.
how is this allowed? Like sometimes he's walking up the court, he's not playing defense, and that happens with a lot of different players. So I feel like I agree. Like I think it's just not the same. The competition's not there anymore. It's
Yeah.
like everyone's really good and everyone's scoring a whole lot, but I think there's a reason why you're seeing people put up like these crazy video game numbers.
Yeah.
I think it's because there's not really a whole lot of effort being shown there. And maybe there's,
Definitely not.
I'm not saying that to offend any like NBA players or say that they don't put in any work, because I know it's hard work to
Yeah.
to do that. But the thing is, like, we've gotten to we've gotten to like this era of like athletic self-preservation,
Yeah.
where they kind of like, with the whole taking the minutes, minute restrictions and all that stuff, like it's all kind of about like, oh, we want to play for as long as possible. But maybe it's like, I don't know. I guess it's not so much about the fans anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of more about the players,
Yeah, it's about the
which is good and bad.
yeah, I think I agree honestly, man. It's like you go to a game, imagine like saving up all your money, you go to this game, LeBron's not even playing.
Yeah, yeah.
You
That's what
know?
Anthony Edwards said.
Yeah. So
Like
it's
he was,
kind of
yeah, he was saying like people work their butts off to get like an expensive ticket to go watch people play, and the person's
uh-huh.
not playing
Yeah,
because
because they're
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 taking
not even hurt. Yeah,
yeah
they're
they're
just
just
like
taking a rest.
yeah, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
That NBA is just it's so interesting. And I thought about this for a second. Like, do you think there's too many games? Because the NBA has 82 games, right? Each team plays 82 games. There's no way anyone, even a super fan, is catching every game of even just one team.
No.
I feel like maybe if they went back, because I remember there was a season, there was a period of time where they cut it down to like 60 games or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. I just think maybe having less games might make it a little bit more exciting, because now it kind of forces players to like it puts them in a position to where if you want to make the playoffs, like it's time to go to work now. You know what I mean? Like you don't have time to like, oh, it's a long game, it's 82 game season, whatever. You know what I mean? If we shorten it up, maybe it'll make players play a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have viewers tap in a little bit more. Cause like look at football, right? I don't know what the viewership for football is looking like, but at very least it's like it's only 16, 17 games, and then playoffs is pretty short, Super Bowl. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? But people tap into the games. It's way easier to catch the games.
Mhm.
So I feel like that would definitely help for viewership.
Oh, definitely. I think like football is much more popular.
Yeah.
Football is like I mean,
In
they say
America.
baseball is America's pastime, but I think football is gonna
Yeah.
surpass baseball eventually, right?
Well, yeah,
I don't
I
know
think
what
it already has. Well,
has it.
I don't know about statistics, but I think culturally,
Culturally, I'd say definitely, right?
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, let's look at this question. What do you guys think about the Sixers? Who's better, Embiid or Jokic? I think Embiid's better for sure. Okay, no, let me not say that. I don't want to say that Embiid's better. I'll say this: if I'm making a team, if I'm a GM, I think I want Embiid on my team over Jokic.
I think I would want Embiid. I'm not gonna lie though, I haven't really been keeping up with both players enough to really go in depth on this, but I would say face value Embiid.
Mhm.
I
I would
think
take Embiid
so.
because just 'cause I like the strength, I like the size.
Yeah.
I think Jokic is a very skilled player. It depends on who else I have around him. Like I don't. I feel like Embiid could. I don't know. Well, I was gonna say that I feel like Embiid could make a team of like really not great players really good, or like he would be able to dominate. But I think Jokic could do the same thing. I think it's kind of a toss up. But I'll tell you this much: when I'm playing 2K, I'd rather have Embiid for sure because
Yeah.
Embiid has more size.
Yeah.
He'll get more rebounds.
Speaking of 2K, man, when's the last time you played 2K?
Not a lot.
Yeah,
Or it's
I
been a
just
while.
think, low key, it just feels like everything is just going down. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about viewership in NBA going down. I feel like everything is just like sucking. Like video games. When's the last time video games were good?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When's the last time we had a really good movie? Like not like a movie that people, like a certain group of people like. When's the last time we had a movie that came out and everyone was like, whoa, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
And not like an Avengers movie, but
No,
something
like a real,
original.
like a movie that like a movie that starts something like an Avengers kind of movement. A movie that has its own movement.
Something new.
Yeah, you're right, man. Well, that's what I feel like we've plateaued, as a society, as a culture. Like, I said this a lot. I said this like before the pandemic to like some friends. But I just feel like there's nothing for us to really. There's room for us to improve and like do greater things, but I think like our society has kind of put us in a hole where it's like, hey, just like keep coasting along this line of what we need. No one needs to break through the ceiling. Everyone just kind of just like,
right,
stay there. And I think people are afraid to like try things. I think people are afraid to get people angry. I think people are afraid to fail. And so like you kind of just have like I don't know, you have a lot of people that are just doing what works.
Yeah.
And I think that that the only way to progress is to try things that maybe won't work. And I think like, I don't know, because I mean, you feel bored kind of, right?
Yeah.
Not like, bored every day in your life, but just kind of like,
no, yeah.
There's nothing
like
really.
Yeah.
You either could watch something that came out a long time ago, or you could watch something that came out, recently.
Yeah.
But like that, neither of those things are really satisfying you because we kind of want something new, but we want something new that doesn't, have an agenda. We want something new that's like actually entertaining, that's funny. We want something new that doesn't make you have to feel like you're watching softcore porn for an hour.
Yeah.
Like you want something that's just like purely just like a good thing.
Yeah. Honestly, the only thing I could think of is really because I think even as soon as 2019, I remember things were still kind of exciting. Like, like let's just look at entertainment. Like you had the Joker movie came out. You had what else came out 2019? Did Avengers come out? Endgame?
Maybe
2019. I think that was 2019.
I think it was maybe.
Which even though that's not original, it was still like the culmination of like what I mean. It just felt like entertainment was exciting. You know what I mean? Like there was something to go and watch. But like I don't know, man. I think the Rona hit, and now it's kind of like
everything kind of sucks.
Yeah,
everything's super. Even like, dude, I tried to watch Outer Banks season 3, man, and I was just not into it.
Really?
Yeah, like I didn't even finish the first episode. And not because I was like, oh, I gotta turn this off, but I was just like, I was watching and I was like, I don't feel like watching this right now, and I haven't gone back because I'm just kind of bored.
No, I feel it though.
Yeah, man. But that's how a lot of like the new things are. Like even that, like I watched some of that Velma show. And that was boring. Like nothing is really like, nothing's hitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nothing's really hitting anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of like, that's even why I'm like, like maybe I just don't even need to watch TV right now. You know, like maybe that's just what it is. Like maybe I feel personally like, I feel like anyone who wants to be a creator, who wants to be an entertainer, this is the time to be creating stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is because we need people to be creating things. We need people. We need new singers. We need new actors. We need new dancers. We need new writers. We need new comedians. Even like some of the new comedians that are coming up. Like I went to the comedy club the other day, and I was sitting there watching these comics go up and do their 5 minutes, and I was so bored. Not because they weren't funny. I mean, they weren't funny, but they were also just boring because their subject matter and their topics were just. It was the same thing. It's all hack material, and it's like just they're being derogatory and gross and inappropriate for just the sake of being inappropriate, derogatory, and gross, but not because there's actually a joke there. Which like back in the day when people were coming up as comedians, you actually had to write a joke. Even Kevin Hart, you might watch his stuff now and go, "This is kind of like not great joke writing."
Yeah.
But like if you go and find old Kevin Hart videos, he's a real comedian. He's a joke writer. He has great jokes, and I think like no one's really no one's everyone kind of wants to be famous, but no one really wants to no one understands what fame really means.
Mm,
And I think that fame is a reward, or it should be a reward that comes after you've worked your butt off at something. And I don't think that it should be a choice. I think that it should be something that kind of just happens involuntarily because you are so good at what you do.
yeah.
But I don't think you should ever seek out fame. Like, I think fame should come because everyone starts to talk about how good you are at something
Mm,
and you become a light that shines through everything. That's what I think fame is. Like, or fame should be.
yeah.
Or that's how people should go about, working on their crafts. Like, I don't think you should do anything with the intention of I want to win an Oscar one day, I want to be in movies. Like, I think you should just be a good actor first. Like, just be a really really good actor first. And I think the nature of you being a good actor will take you to the places you want to go
Yeah.
just because you're good at something. But hopping on TikTok and making all those skits and stuff. I mean, that's great. Like, those can be really funny, but that fame doesn't really turn into anything. That's why you have a lot of famous people that are famous, but like if you told your mom, "Hey, like, do you know who Drewski is?" Your mom wouldn't know who Drewski was.
Yeah.
We know who Drewski is, but I've never seen a Drewski video in my life. I just know his face because Instagram told me that he's a famous person.
Yeah.
But it's not because I genuinely think like Drewski's that great at anything. Not that I have a problem with him or anything. I think he is like I've never really watched anything, but he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean though? It's
Nah, I
just
feel it.
your
Yeah.
fame is like people are just kind of going for fame.
Yeah.
But no one's really just trying to be good at something. That's why you have nothing good because you have kind of the generation kind of before us, like I guess the millennials, they started out trying to be good at something, but kind of have reverted
Mhm.
back to just focusing on social media, which I think the nature of social media is going to suck out any sort of actual craftsmanship,
Yeah.
in any sort of art,
I think too is like I think what that's led to is like we have now like okay, the value of a celebrity I think has gone down because everyone can be a celebrity now. You can go on TikTok and have a video blow up and now you're viral, now you're verified on TikTok, which doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. Cuz like if you actually look at it, you get paid like pennies or whatever, but it's like everyone could be famous now. You know what I mean? There's probably someone right now in the middle of like Kansas
Mhm.
and just the middle of nowhere that makes content and they're famous in their city, they're famous in their state, and we have no idea who they are. You know what I mean? Like everything is so oversaturated, like even just the amount of celebrities that there are, or celebrities, whatever you want to call them. There's so many people with 1 million plus followers and subscribers and stuff like that. Not to take away from those accomplishments, but it's like, like when you have when everyone has access to this, it's like now there's room for mediocrity. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just what it gets pushed. Like we rely like social media, the algorithms, how everything works. Anything can go viral, not
Yeah.
because it's good, but because it just happened to be right place, right time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've had girls pop up on like my Instagram, like suggested videos of just girls like they're just singing along to like mouthing along to a song, and they're just happen to be kind of cute,
Yeah.
and like that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but this person has like 50,000 followers, and I'm like,
Exactly.
how? I'm like, what? Like they're not even doing anything. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's wild. But I think that's why you kind of have to like tap out of culture
Mm.
because if you stay tapped in, you're never going to really achieve what you want to achieve, right? Because like,
All right.
I think about it this way, like, because I have an issue with watching TV. Like, I love watching TV.
Mhm.
I feel like I can either sit and watch, a TV show with all those actors, or I could go and be on the TV show. But I'm not going to end up on the TV show by
Go ahead and
sitting
turn
and
the
watching
lights,
the TV show.
not the
Right.
main lights,
So, like,
those lights.
I think
Good
like,
evening,
me
everybody. Give
watching
Lord a
TV is
shout.
really a waste of my time.
We are going live. I'd like to welcome our TV audience that is watching. Well, you got a taste of what we're doing tonight, and it was great to watch Kyle McCray in action, and that's on his YouTube. He also has a podcast. And let me fill you in on what we're doing tonight if you're watching us live. I'm a firm believer that the young generation is really supposed to, have the attention that they deserve and the respect. And, having kids of my own who are young and very successful in doing what they're doing, It was an honor to meet Kyle not too long ago. He came in with my son, and I took a liking to him right away because he's a true example of a young man who has a great future. And also, not only does he have a great future, but he includes good morals into it, and he includes God into it. And that's very rare right now on social media. And I think what's going to happen soon is you're going to see a flip in social media, because a lot of people think social media is so bad they won't even have it. You know, we're going to get off TikTok. I always think, you know, if everybody that wanted to run off TikTok would do something good on TikTok and win, we wouldn't have to get off it, you know. And I remember raising my children when pornography was so strong on the computer, and everybody would say we have to get rid of the computer out of the house. And I think, you know, then they can't do their homework. And you know, there's just good things on the computer too. So the object of social media, what I'm finding out, is doing something good instead of running away and thinking everything's bad. And I hadn't seen a lot of good things for a long time. But then when I had met Kyle and saw his podcast with Kyle Hill, and then my son joined them, and then there's another YouTuber out there who has his own YouTube, and you see him sing up here once in a while. Roman, he's a singer, and they all have great things to show to the kids and great things to show to the adults. And I truly believe I want to sow into that. This is seed tonight that's saying, hey, I'm going to show you a little bit of some of the good things that are going on out there. So we saw him on the screen. There he is. His hair looks a little different, but we saw him on the screen. So if you're out there, let me know you're watching, and then put your hands together, and as we invite Kyle up to the stage, put your hands together. Kyle McCray. And good to see you. And he, like I said, he's an awesome young man, and you're going to find out a lot of cool things about him tonight. So let me just get it right. You have your own YouTube show called KoldHartKam.
Yes, that's my channel.
That's your channel. Mm-hmm. And how long have you had that?
For about 2 years now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So doing what you're doing, you know, have you been doing it for 5 years, 10 years, 2 years? How long?
No, I really just started when I started my channel.
And what made you start doing it?
I would say, well, I had a roommate my first year of college, and he kind of inspired me to do YouTube, because you know that was something he wanted to do, and I had a little bit of an interest in it. And you know, I always thought, like, you know, I can't do that. You know what I mean? I can't, you know, help people on the internet. I don't really have anything to say. But then,
what were you doing at that time?
Well, at that time, I wasn't doing anything.
But you were in track.
I was in track. Yeah, so I was at school doing track.
School. Right.
Yeah, so I saw him do it. He started getting on TikTok, and he started doing pretty well on that. And so I looked at it and I said, you know, I could do that. You know what I mean? The stuff that he was saying was stuff that we just been talking about.
What were some of the things they were talking
about? Well, he started talking about. So he started with like the dating advice and stuff like that. So, and this is stuff that we would talk about, you know, in the dorm rooms or whatever. And he would go on TikTok, and all of his videos were doing well. They were going viral. And I said, you know, I could probably do that. And he was encouraging me to, but I was kind of on the fence about it. And then eventually I was just like, you know what? I might as well try it.
Was he giving good advice?
He at the time it was very worldly advice. So I guess, you know, for people that are in the world, that would be good advice. But it wasn't necessarily leading people to God. It was leading people to, you know, sleeping with a lot of women and stuff like that.
Right.
So it wasn't really the right things, but for what it was, I guess it was good advice.
And on your Black Kyle podcast, which Kyle Hill is your one of your partners in that.
Yes.
My son has been on that one, I think.
He's been on it twice.
Charlie's been on it, and a few other friends. What's the difference, for people that don't know, what's the difference between a podcast and a YouTube channel?
Well, a YouTube channel is kind of like, it's just you, and you're posting videos, and that's pretty much it. It's really informal, no structure to it. And then a podcast is kind of like, you sit down, you have a studio, It's usually more than one person. It can just be one person.
Mhm.
Usually more than one person, and you kind of have certain topics that you talk about.
Right.
They're usually like an hour, 2 hours. They're pretty long. YouTube isn't that long. It's like 5-10 minute videos.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking, it's are you known to be controversial, or are you?
You could yeah, you could say I am a little bit controversial. I guess it depends on who
But
you
it's a
ask,
good thing.
really. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna just sit around and be, anybody can be nothing.
Yeah.
So you got to stir something up. So
Yeah.
what's the trick to stir things up in social media to go viral?
Well, really, if you just tell the truth, a lot of people will get upset at that because I feel like nowadays. It sounds
I know
crazy.
nothing about that. No, go ahead.
It sounds crazy, but a lot of people live in kind of like this. They kind of live in their own bubble. They live in their own fantasy where they want to, they want to be, whatever they want to be. You know what I mean? They kind of just live in their own fantasy world. And that's just not the truth.
Right.
Like we know that what's in the Bible is the truth. You know what I mean? And there's only one truth. It's not subjective. So
Right.
so when you start talking about the truth on social media, a lot of people get upset because now it's like, oh, you're invalidating my lifestyle. Well, your lifestyle is not. You're not living the truth.
Now, getting to God, were you raised with God? Is this how this happened? I see your parents are beautiful, handsome. Your brother, was it a godly family to begin with?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some of my earliest memories were going to church. I think it was called Abundant Living, something like that. But yeah, I remember going to church as a
Were you
child.
one of the kids where your parents made you go every night, like my
Not
kids?
every night,
Okay.
every Sunday though.
Every
Yeah,
all
early in the
day?
morning. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Not it wouldn't be all day, but I didn't
Uh,
want to get up though.
Right, right.
But yeah, so every Sunday morning. And yeah, that's just how I was raised. I went to Orange Lutheran. That's Christian school.
Were you a theater kid?
I was not a theater kid. No.
Okay, so you were an athlete.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and he does awesome in track, but so that's amazing. And your brother's an athlete.
Yeah, he's doing track right now. I don't know if he did basketball in the winter, but yeah, he's doing track right now.
And then I talked to your dad, and I thought, man, he got all this. I was an athlete. He didn't want to say he was a theater kid either. No, I was playing football, and I was the worst. I always wanted to say I'm an athlete. They put me on a basketball team, and I shot the basket for the wrong team. So they threw me the ball, and I couldn't figure out why nobody was running after me. And I was like going through the whole court, and everybody's like, whoa, look at this guy. And I got to the basket, and I made the basket, and nobody clapped. And I realized I made it for the other team, and my coach came to me and put his arm around me, and he said, stick to singing, stick to entertaining. So in your life now, how old are you?
22.
22, young. Okay, man, I don't even want to say what I was doing at 22. But at 22, you're hanging with my son, you're hanging with your friends. There's young adults watching you. Now, on KoldHartKam, that's your YouTube. On your podcast, the Black Kyle podcast, which one are you the expert when it comes to relationships?
That's my KoldHartKam.
So you're talking to an audience range of what age?
Like it's a pretty wide range. Typically like high school and college age, but there are some people in there that are 30s.
And people 30 really want to listen to you.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I'll see it.
You finish the how to, because I don't want to make it wrong, like not how to. So you're telling people how to
talk to girls, how to have a healthy relationship, stuff like that.
And we could go all night, but 5 major things you tell. Let's start with a 13-year-old watching.
Okay.
Because I think a 13-year-old and a 30-year-old, they're going to be different.
Yeah.
Right? So you wouldn't tell the 13-year-old to do the same thing to the 30-year-old.
Yeah.
So you're watching it, 13-year-olds watching you, and they're all excited, they're pumped up, they're watching you, Kyle McCray. And how do you tell a 13-year-old how to date?
13 years old?
Because I know Elder Gloria, she's 90, and she's going to want to know how to date now because all 6 of her husbands are gone. How many were there? Sorry, 4. So you're going to have to give her some advice later. But to a 13-year-old, what do you do?
13-year-old, I would really tell them not to focus on dating at all right now. 13, that's pretty young. I don't know what is that, middle school or something like that. Yeah, focus on school. You know what I mean? Listen to your parents. I wasn't really listening to my parents in middle school. I thought I knew it all, but yeah,
Were you
they
allowed to
definitely.
date at 13?
I think I was allowed to. I just wasn't though.
Well, you
Yeah.
thought you were dating.
I was not. I mean, not really. I was a shy kid. I was shy.
Uh,
Yeah. But yeah, 13 years old. I would tell them just focus on school.
do
Dating
you
isn't
think
even
many 13-year-olds watch you, or does it get to more be like 16, 17?
like 16, 17. That's usually who's watching me.
Okay, so now we're into that generation,
Okay.
and they're going to school.
Mhm.
They're not Christian. We'll talk about God plenty, but this is just world talk right now. They're in the world. They're going to high school. There's homosexuality going on.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff that's going on the news. They're getting bad influence from influencers out there who are no good. How do you come in and fit in and make this all work?
I really tell them to not focus so much on what, how the world wants them to be,
Mhm.
because I feel like you can watch a TV program or look at some kind of Instagram post and it'll kind of mold you. Because 16, 17, that's still young. You're still kind of figuring out what your personality is like. So I would just tell that age really just focus on like you know what I mean, focus on finding who you are without the influence of other people.
Mhm.
You know what I mean, like don't really try to fit in, I guess what I'm trying to say, because that's what a lot of those kids are doing at that age. And
Fitting in because of the peer pressure of
yeah,
what these kids are like today.
yeah, I mean, kid, like they all want to fit
Now
in, they
they're
all
not
want
all
to,
bad.
not all of them.
But I'm saying the majority of kids are blessed and good, and you got a group of people. But it always seems like some of these kids follow that majority of wrong people,
Yeah,
and you're gonna be their advisor.
yeah, so I mean, I would just tell them don't be a follower, because
Mhm.
that's only going to lead you to just bad things. It's just going to go downhill from there. And I mean, it helps in all areas of life, not even beyond relationships really. Because you follow people, they'll tell you all kind of advice about girls. They'll tell you to get with a girl that's really promiscuous or something like that, but really that's only going to lead you to your own self-destruction. So I'm telling them, go the other way. And I know that's hard for like a 16 and 17-year-old to hear, because they want to be part of everything, um, but it's what they need to hear. You know what I mean? And I almost wish that I came across a YouTuber that was telling me those type of things when I was 16, 17,
Telling you,
telling me to not follow people, not to try to fit in.
so you had good mentors that you watched.
Well, I didn't. So I wish I had
Oh,
someone
okay,
that was
okay,
doing that. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, my parents were telling me that, but I feel like it's different at that age. It's different at that age, because when you have someone your age telling you that when you're 16, 17, I think it connects a lot more.
Well, and do
Yeah.
you feel I feel so excited about watching you and Kyle and Charlie and the other group of young men and women coming together, and you're all on the same page. And a lot of people, you're out there and you think this world is terrible, and you think this young generation is terrible. You're all wrong. There's a part of this young generation that are amazing, and this young generation is what's going to bring this world back into the right direction because of guys like Kyle. And so the 16-year-olds, 13-year-olds, you just tell them be good.
Yeah.
16, 17, 8, you're saying, hey, find yourself first.
Yeah.
Now you get to the 20 and 25-year-olds, like older than you,
Yeah.
and they got to listen to you.
Okay.
What do you tell a 25-year-old? They can go into a bar, have sex, choose a gender, choose to be gay. I mean, they're all out there. They have no guidance, right?
Yeah.
And some of them don't have no parents. I always say there's no bad kids, there's bad parents. Because if the parents would raise the kids, you'd have no bad kids. And for you parents watching, you say, well, that's not true. Figure it out and look at it. If you would have started your kids young, you wouldn't have to be going through what you're going through right now. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because you're the pro, so I want you. If I say something wrong, I say, oh, no, Pastor Chuck, that's it. So now we get to the 19, 20, 25, the know-it-alls. That's it. We can do it. How do you I'm not going to say give your advice yet. I'm going to say on your show, what do you tell them? What kind of conversations come up?
I mean, by that age, you're doing things like you said, going out to bars, trying to sleep with women and doing all of that. They think they know it all. So what I'm telling them is you need to be more like around this age. I think like you're still young, but it's time to start growing up. Really,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you can't like yeah, sure you can you're over 21. You can go to the bar. You can get drunk all the time. You can go to parties and whatever. Go to the club, but what is that really gonna do for you? You know what I mean? I think that's there's a lot of kids that age that will tell you, oh, you gotta go do this. You gotta have fun in your 20s, which is it's fine to have fun, but people start doing that all the time, and that becomes their life, and that's what's important to them. You know what I mean? So what I'm telling them is that your life shouldn't be revolving around going out all the time and getting drunk and sleeping with women because again, that's only going to lead to your own self-destruction. It's only going to lead to you now. You know what I mean? You sleep with a woman, now you have what, an unexpected pregnancy. You can get an
That's
STD.
right.
You can drink too much. I mean, you mess up your brain chemistry, all of that. It's time to really focus on the right things.
And at 25, you're catching them.
Yeah.
A lot of them you can catch. What about homosexuality? Do you talk much about that on your show?
I don't really talk much about homosexuality. My channel is really geared towards like straight men, obviously.
Okay.
But,
I just asked. So because that's a major
yeah,
problem out
yeah.
there.
I mean, like that, and the switching genders,
Drugs.
drugs. I mean, all that. Stay away from all of that. Stay
You
away
tell
from
them
all of
all,
that.
stay away.
Yeah, stay away from all of that. I mean, it's clear as day in the Bible. It tells you not to do it, but you don't even have to look there. I mean, you could just
Right.
see the real world consequences. If you're homosexual, you can't have a child.
Right.
That's what it is. You can't have a family now. That's a big part of being a man.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're doing drugs. I mean, you're ruining your own body.
Now, you
I
were
mean?
never on drugs?
I was never on drugs.
Amen. That's a great thing. So now you're moving forward. I want to go back. I'll go back to talk a little bit about that. But now you're hitting the 30-year-olds, the ones that have been there, had sex, now they're going to tune you on, and they're going to look at you and they're already doing what they're not supposed to be doing. How did you become so powerful to change these people's lives?
Honestly,
So I'm 45.
Yeah.
And I'm I left my wife now. I was married. I left my wife, and I want to go have sex. You're a kid. You don't know anything. I want to smoke a little weed, have some fun, go out with my friends. How do you talk to a 35 and 40-year-old at your age to really get them? And have you actually had feedback from some of them that said, thank you, you helped us?
Yeah, well, I have had a decent amount of feedback of people in their 30s, 40s, and 60s even telling me that I helped them. And what I see a lot of is, they're saying like you help remind me of what I need to do. You know what I mean? They already know what it is. They already know what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. But it's almost like they needed like a refresher. Now, why they came to my channel, I don't know.
The Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he's going to send, I wonder why people come here. And the Lord says, me, I send the people where they need to be. There's not many people doing what you do. He said the key word, and this is awesome, the reminder.
Yeah.
A 50-year-old can forget, and they're out there and they think they know it all. They're working hard. They meet somebody, they lust them, and then all of a sudden they're strolling through and God's trying to get their attention. And boom, you come on and you're reminding them, and then their Holy Spirit inside of them says, man, I shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
And that's why you never give up. I don't care how many views you have or how many people you have, you just never give up, because if you reach one person, you've done it. You did it. They accomplished what God wanted you to accomplish. Now, the old people, you get them laughing at you or telling you, wait, yeah, nice try, or are they trying to date you? All these old ladies out there, hey.
I'll get that sometimes where I'll get a comment that says, oh, you're young, what do you know about life, all of that.
Do you ever get like, oh my gosh, I want you to meet my daughter? Oh.
No, I don't really, I don't get none of that, no.
All right. So nobody tries to set you up?
No, they're not trying to set me up.
Did you ever get beat up for the wrong advice?
I've never been beat up. I've gotten some interesting messages from people, not because I gave wrong advice, but because, when you tell the truth, people don't like it. So I've gotten some interesting messages from people. But
when did you realize, when you're sitting there to start your social media career, when did you realize, wow, I'm going to throw God into this?
To be honest, not too long ago, last year, maybe around summer, is when, so I guess a little bit of backstory. So obviously I was raised Christian, but and even though I went to Orange Lutheran with it, which is a Christian high school and everything, I didn't really have a relationship with God really. So I had to work on that, and again, it was my roommate, the same roommate that kind of inspired me to do that, to start getting into the Lord and really have a relationship with Him. And
So he was Christian.
yeah, he was Catholic actually, and then he started reading the Bible, became Christian. Um, and so yeah, last year is when I really started my journey, and so I started talking about God way more last year in the summer, and incorporating it because that's what we're supposed to do. But more than that, it's what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? I wanted to spread the word of God because that's like the real answer. You know what I mean? I kind of thought about it like, I can give people dating advice, but I'm just giving them, like, what am I really telling them? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving them anything that's gonna fulfill them. I'm not gonna.
So when you're giving dating advice, you're actually uh, persuading them to keep God in the center.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's all there really is. I mean, if you look at the dating scene right now, or at least with my generation, it sucks. You know what I mean? It's
Why?
a lot of, because it's too many people out here that want to live, just be promiscuous. You know what I mean? Want to sleep around with people, and I mean, not only is that dangerous to themselves, but it's dangerous to other people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
And is it all about sex, or is it about,
no.
I mean, what are the other dangerous things? I mean, it's been so, drugs are so saturated in sex, and we know we're not supposed to be doing that. But what about peer pressure and lifestyles and these things that, are just hitting us today? The gender problem and the government and the politics. I mean, it's like these kids, they grew up overnight. Now they're politicians, and they don't have any time to grow up and have fun anymore.
Yeah, they don't. And I mean, that's why, like, a big part of what I do on my YouTube platform, I kind of tell people, get away from that social media stuff, because that's what they do on social media, like TikTok and Instagram, all of that. They're always pushing some kind of new agenda on you. You know what I mean? So I really encourage, people of all ages really to get off of that. You know what I mean? Get into the word, but yeah, get off of social media so you're not, watching all these agendas happening all around you all the time.
Or watch the positive stuff.
Yeah, watch the positive stuff. Yeah, and it sucks because the positive stuff doesn't get pushed. It doesn't get views.
Yeah. What do you think about Netflix and these movies and certain things that come out that my kids watch? I watch. I mean, there's series you get hooked on and you start watching. All of a sudden, there's a sex scene. All of a sudden, it's you can't watch one thing without homosexuality. And you just watching everything and you think you can't tell, you can't scream and shut the TV off. Especially, I like the show. I'm watching the show, and then something comes on. What do you suggest to parents today?
Parents, you kind of just have to monitor it as best you can. I mean, unfortunately, because it's so accessible.
Up to what age?
See, that's the hard part right there, because I don't know if I can put a specific age on it, but man, I think maybe just, I don't know, just as long as possible, because they're gonna find it. The kids are gonna find it. They're gonna,
on your phone.
Yeah, everyone got phones nowadays. Download the Netflix app, and I don't know if there's anything you can put on their phones or whatever.
So I'm a dad calling you, and I'm like, Kyle, I don't know if my kids are into pornography. My daughter, I don't know. She don't have a boyfriend. I don't know if that means she likes girls. I mean, I'm just having a hard time raising my kids. I work all day. I'm doing they're always in their room or they're out with their friends, and I have an uncomfortable spirit. What should I do?
Man, you gotta.
Man,
that's a lot. That's a lot.
But it's happening, huh?
But I mean, it is happening. And really, like, I don't mean to sound like redundant, but you gotta get to God. That's the only answer I can really give. Like I can't really tell them to do much else, because like, the Bible is a whole, it's several books of just wisdom, just facts. And if you read that, you can solve all of your problems. You know what I mean? All the problems are, what I mean? What was it you said? The son or your daughter is, what I mean? She might be homosexual, whatever the case. I mean, there's verses in there that says that that's an abomination to the Lord. And, I think there's a lot of ways to handle that, but love your daughter. You know what I mean, and let her know that she's loved, and let her know that Jesus loves her, so that she can get more interested about the word, so that way she can change by reading it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's kind of a tough situation in that a lot of parents are going through with their kids. You know what I mean?
Now, do you hear a lot about that on your show?
I don't hear a lot about that on my show.
Do you take questions on your show?
Not really questions. People can comment and we'll answer.
So you don't have like a phone or anybody that can call in
No.
and you can have fun with them talking back and forth yet?
No, I haven't done that yet.
Okay. And when somebody does notice you or walk on the street or recognize you, do they, are they like intimidated, or do they think, oh my God, tell us more about what we could do? What about your personal friends?
Well, so as far as just being out, I've had a few people come up to me. And most of the time, they're a little nervous, which is shocking to me because I'm a regular guy. But they're a little nervous, and they usually just ask for a picture, and then they go on about their day. But as far as personal friends, they don't really they don't really mention a lot about what I talk about on YouTube.
Do you have a lot of friends that aren't Christian?
Not really. And I say that because my circle is really tight. I've had a lot of people that I've considered friends that aren't really friends.
Oh, they're acquaintances.
Yeah. So I mean, of the few friends that I have, all of them are Christian. Yeah. So we do talk about we talk about the topics that I mentioned in my YouTube channel and on the podcast, but we don't necessarily talk about my actual videos and stuff like that.
So when were you saved?
When was I saved? Well, when I was really young, I said the sinner's prayer, accepted Jesus. But of course, I was baptized on the 1st of this year, January 1st.
Okay.
So yeah. But when I was young, that's when I accepted Jesus. I don't remember what
Where'd
age.
you get baptized?
Where?
Yeah.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah. I just wanted to get him to say, I don't know, oh, you were baptized there. Charlie's like, it was here. Kyle's like, it was here. So it was baptized here because you knew what it meant. See, nobody knows what baptism means because, everybody thinks when you're a kid you're baptized. You're not. You're dedicated. So if you're a little baby and your mother holds you up, you're dedicated. That's not a baptism. And then you get older and older, like Kyle's age or my son's age or Kyle's age, and all of a sudden, or anybody's age, you decide you want Jesus, then that's baptism. And we had the honor. We were so excited because we had the honor to do it here. And, that's a great thing. That's why it was an honor to be able to watch you do that. Now, did life change after that? In your heart or anything?
I wouldn't say that life changed too much. I mean, I think, I'd already accepted Jesus. I was already really into the word, so it didn't really change too much.
Because I had one guy that I baptized, Maria's dad, but I baptized him. He had the worst week. He called me. He said, "Can you unbaptize me?" I've never been more tempted, more this, more that. I mean, my whole life, my money, everything, unbaptized. It's no, you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
What do you say to people who are watching this thinking, it's just another Christian show. It's just somebody else trying to get somebody to God.
What would I say to them?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, like, your time is limited, like this is what you need to be watching right here. You know what I mean? Like people will spend all day watching like some kind of Netflix show or whatever, watching TikTok reels on Instagram, but just dedicate a little bit of time to the word. It doesn't even have to be very long. You know what I mean? It can be a short video, whatever. People who don't want to do it, they really don't want to do it, not because it doesn't really have anything to do with you, but it's just because their ego, their flesh is telling them like, oh, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that. But it is what they need to be watching, really. It's the most important content. So, that's what I would tell them.
Do you remember when it changed your life? I mean, was there an epiphany when you were going through your life and all of a sudden it was like, I gotta have God, this is ridiculous,
Man, I don't know if it was, I don't know if, not necessarily an epiphany, but there was a time around 2020, around like the COVID stuff like that. And it was just like at that time, I still didn't really have a strong relationship with God at all. And at that time, it was just a whole bunch of information flying on the internet, because that's all people were doing. They were just on the internet, and I was looking at all the different stuff that people were posting
About
and,
dating or
not
just
necessarily
life?
not about dating, but a lot of it was like like spiritual kind of content.
During COVID.
Yeah,
That was a big time.
that was
Right.
a big trend, and I was looking at all of that, and I was like, okay, like this is interesting, and I was kind of doing research on it and stuff like that, and the whole time I was kind of forgetting about God, or I didn't not necessarily that I forgot him, but that's a I was turning away from the word and looking towards other people's answers to life. They were talking about meditation and chakras and all this other kind of stuff, and I was giving more attention to that than I was giving to the word. And
But you grew up in the Word.
but I
So
grew
you
up in the
kind of
word.
knew what was wrong, but you're
Yeah.
getting lured that way a little bit.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in fact, that was actually when I started my YouTube channel. It wasn't dating advice. It was that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just remember at some point, I was just feeling. I can't even really describe it. I just felt wrong. Like I don't know. It was almost like it was like a physical feeling. I
Now,
felt.
are you born again?
Yes. Well, now.
Now, but
Yeah.
back then, technically you weren't born again, but you
Yeah.
still felt
Lukewarm.
You still felt the Holy Spirit working in you.
Yeah, it had to be because I just wasn't. I almost felt like sick, almost like I can't even. I don't even know how to really describe it. And I just remember laying down one night, and a thought just occurred to me. It said, "You need to get back to Jesus."
Wow.
And from that night, I started praying more. I started reading the Bible more. Not a whole lot,
So
but
when,
just little.
when just the person watching right now thinks, okay, that's how I'm feeling right now.
Mhm.
I mean, I got to get back to Jesus. So that's one level of a person that had Jesus, grew up with Jesus with your parents, kind of gets, drift away a little bit. And then you think, God, I got to get back to Jesus. That's kind of how I was. I was raised Catholic. Every time I did something wrong, I think I got to get back to Jesus. But I never did. I got to get back to Jesus. Man, this is wrong. But I do it again. I got to get back to Jesus. But that was our conscience and the Lord trying to come at you. So when you were feeling that, and somebody out there saying, I feel that right now, even in the audience, what did you go to in the Bible? I mean, what scriptures, what made you inspired to keep staying on track?
Man, I don't know that I don't know that it was necessarily a specific book in the Bible. I had the Bible app on my phone, so like if I would
Really?
see the verse of the day
So that would
pop
be
up.
just
So
enough
that
to
would
get
be
you.
yeah. So at that time, that's what I was doing, and
It's such a confirmation that the word is alive, active, energizing. I mean, it doesn't matter where you get it from. It don't matter where you have it. Somebody might say, well, I was on my knees and I prayed and I went on a retreat and I went away for 3 months. But you're like on your phone
yeah,
looking at some scriptures and all of a sudden it touches your heart like fire.
yeah.
And that changed right away or gradually?
Definitely gradually. And I just remember around that time I had a lot of questions too about the Bible. Not that I was like I always knew Jesus is real. I always believed in God, but I just had a lot of questions.
What was like one of your main questions?
It was really just stuff like well, how do we know for sure? Like, how do we know for sure that Jesus was who he said he was?
And then how did you answer it?
It was almost like a combination of because I was on YouTube a lot, so I would watch videos on this stuff, and they would give scriptures. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but they would give verses in the Bible that I would read and analyze myself and be like, okay, so that's what this means. So this is how this works.
Did you ever go to your parents and ask for help on that?
I didn't.
So you were too cool. Like you're like,
It wasn't really that I was too cool. I don't know. I felt like it was like a personal journey, I guess. Like,
all right, no, that's cool. That's what I'm saying. Because most kids won't. Even my kid, I mean, they won't go until you know. That, in my case, it was different. I'm a pastor, so my kids come to me and they're like, what does God say about this? But in ordinary life, if the kids are out there and they aren't going to their parents, that's fine. You're on your own journey with God, and it starts to work. Did they notice a difference in you? Did they see anything? Did they ever comment on you, like saying, "Wow, what are you going to be a priest?"
I don't think they did. You guys notice anything? You did? All right. Well.
So they saw they probably didn't know. You were always a good kid. they probably were so thrilled you raised the bar for kids your age. That's how I feel about my kids. You know, I look at you too, and Kyle, and I think, man, we're so blessed to have you in our presence because this world's crazy. I mean, it's so crazy. And to your brother out there, you're so blessed to have a brother that's like this because this world's crazy. I mean, you go to school, I'm sure I'll have you on the show one day. You could probably tell me more than he can tell me about what's going on in the schools and, you know, all these things. And do you ever plan on going to schools or live or like we talked about it, setting up some rallies at schools right now?
Yeah. Definitely in the near future. I mean,
I think you should go to Olu. I mean, that's
Maybe.
where you can. I mean, we know people there.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make some calls and put you there right outside and get all the students around and have like a student rally.
That would be cool.
And let them ask you questions as far as how to. And you could bring Olu alumni with you. You got the whole crew from Olu. They're doing a big rally on Saturday that they're going to, the Olu alumni group. And then there's another group, since our theater opened, that they're going to be partnering with Olu. But I think you have a lot to say to this young generation as far as keeping them on their toes. You know, what do you think? What about politics? Do you talk much about politics on your show?
I don't really talk much about politics. Just because I just think, kind of like you said earlier, everyone is like a little politician now. You know,
Yeah.
everyone wants to have, you know, opinion and stuff like that. So I really just want my channel to be kind of like away from all of that. You know, because everything is politically charged now.
Now you're on Wednesday only for the Black Kyle podcast.
Black Kyle podcast is on Wednesdays.
And then on YouTube's on every day. They can catch you
Every day.
on YouTube every day.
Yes.
So why are you just on Wednesday? Just curious.
Just because right now that's just what we can do with our time frames right now. Definitely when summer comes, it'll probably be more days.
And you pick the time frame.
Well, me and Kyle both picked the time frames.
Right.
Yeah.
So you guys picked the time frame. So since we talked about Kyle, come on up here. I want you to put your hands together for Kyle. Just like that old show, and then his father Kyle, and the brother Kyle. So we got 4 Kyle. But this is Kyle Hill, ladies and gentlemen, and he's awesome. And how come? So the Black Kyle podcast, is that like a little pun because you're both black?
Yeah.
Okay. And it didn't take long for me to put that together. So I just want to point out, because in case anybody's saying, "Oh, we get it, the Black Kyle," you know, Charlie came in and blew the whole thing. It was like Kyle, Charlie. But we'll talk to him later. But you're how old?
I'm 21. I'll be 22 on Monday.
Okay. Really? Oh, we gotta have a party. 22. So this guy, I love, and I think he's amazing. And I think he's so talented and has so much to offer to this generation. That's why the Lord put us together, you know. My son loves you. You love my son. My daughter loves you. I mean, you know, it's just an amazing deal. How did you two get together on this?
Well, Kyle and I were on the same basketball team. That's where we met at summer league
Yeah,
basketball.
look at
camp
me
freshman
with
year.
athletes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And
I was a basketball.
we were good friends from pretty much from the jump. We both weren't playing much on the freshman summer team, so we were bonding over the fact that we were sitting on the bench. And we were friends from there.
So did you have any idea this was going to come out of it? Not this, but God was going to come out of this, or you know, I mean, I'm sure there was a time where you guys are just trying to be cool and not talk about God, or no.
I wouldn't say that we were like actively avoiding God, but this was not.
So when's the first time you decided, wow, we both are Christian and we both?
Well, I think because we were during the pandemic, we were meeting up and grabbing lunch a few times here and there, and I remember at that point in my life, I'd been reading the scripture a little bit, but I was still kind of nervous about being, I guess, outwardly expressive about my faith and stuff like that, especially around people my age. And I think one of the times that we hung out, we were sitting in the car, we were eating like In-N-Out in the parking lot or something, and I think I was voicing like a question to him or like asking for advice, and he gave me advice that was rooted in scripture or like in God. Like he kind of voiced his faith, and I was like, whoa, like someone my age is
And where was
believes in God.
this?
This is just hanging out in the parking lot.
With other people?
No,
or?
just me and him.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was the first time I was like, whoa, like that's really cool. Like someone else who's my age, who's like a friend of mine that I value his opinion. Like he's coming from a foundation of faith too. So like, all right, like I felt more comfortable about that. And then from there, we would hang out and we would talk about God and just different things like that. And then
So what made you come up with, hey, let's do a podcast?
It was really his idea. He literally just texted me one day.
I'm a very title oriented person, and I was like, what would be a good talk show name? And I was like, I'm okay, like the Kyle Show. I was like, the Black Kyle Show. And I was like, what if we had like I know another Black Kyle. I was like, we could do a Black Kyle show together. And I texted him immediately, and I was like, hey, what if we did we have a podcast, and it's called the Black Kyle Podcast. And he was like, let's do it. And I was like, all right, cool. And we started off in a friend's living room, and then I was talking to Charlie about it, and he was like, hey, my friend Roman has a podcast studio that he does his stuff out of. So I texted Roman, and next thing you know, we were recording podcasts in a studio.
He was so bummed his name wasn't Kyle. Because then it could have been the Black Kyle, and Kyle could have been out of it. His name's Roman. He's like, how am I going to get on this show? How am I going to? We had to be named Kyle. So your relationship with God, the two of you are strong. It's 2020, when COVID comes out. How'd you survive during COVID? Did it bring your faith down? Did it bring it up?
I mean, I guess you could say it didn't really bring my faith down, but again, I was distracted looking at other things, so I kind of like put it away almost. Like it wasn't. I don't even know how to describe it. So I guess you could say it brought my faith down in a way because I was just focused on other things in the world. Just just like looking at politics, looking at spiritual advice, stuff like that.
That's the time.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
Right.
Of the lockdowns and stuff.
And you, how'd you get through COVID?
I think for me, COVID was definitely a test. I was really kind of I felt my own willpower was I felt a lot of vulnerabilities exposed within me, like during the pandemic for sure. And I think that it was an opportunity for me to really lean on God completely, and I'm still leaning on Him right now. But I think especially during the pandemic, I was kind of forced to, I was hit with a lot of different darkness. And like people say, like, you're not really battling against other people's flesh. You're battling against the dark spirits that are, controlling that. And I think that was super evident during the pandemic for me, especially because I was even, afflicted by those dark spirits myself. I think that through friendship and through talking to people that were obviously sent to my life by God and having relationships refreshed, because we hadn't really been talking as much. We were talking here and there, but we weren't hanging out all the time. And then all of a sudden we started hanging out, and the same thing kind of happened with me and Charlie too. I think God kind of sends people in your life, like you said, to remind you of Him and His presence, and I think to remind you that there is something worth living for, and I think something worth fighting for too. So I stayed strong through the pandemic by leaning on God and my friends.
Now, I know you're an actor, you're a producer, you guys write. What's your, you want success, but what's your goal? Like, are you're not a singer, you told me that.
Right.
So are you a producer? Are you a director? Do you want to be a pastor? Do you want to be a, what is in your heart to be?
I'm really passionate about my YouTube channel. That's what I'm really mainly focused on right now.
So an influencer. Is that what they call you?
Yeah,
You're
an
a
influencer.
YouTuber.
Yeah.
Okay, and that would just be social media and having a show.
Pretty much, yeah.
See, because everything's changing. Like when in my days they had talk shows. So, then it got a little more different. It went from Johnny Carson to Merv Griffin. I grew up with all of them, and you guys don't even remember them. Then it went into other shows like The View and certain shows like that, which people liked. But on social media, you can actually not just be famous, but get known by having something on YouTube and touch the world. And that's
Yeah.
your goal?
Yeah.
And how do you make that happen?
It's really just consistency.
Why should everybody tell her? There's a million things to watch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's a million people that tell you how to date. There's a million people that tell you choose God. There's a million people that want to help marriages. There's a million people that say this is okay and not okay. Why should everybody tune into you?
Because at the end of the day, I'm a very blunt person. I'm just gonna tell it how it is. A lot of people out there that are doing dating advice or even telling you about God aren't gonna tell you the entire truth. You know what I mean? I don't believe in half truths. You know, so I'm gonna tell people, you know, how it really is, and that's what we need right now. You know, social media is very filtered. People aren't getting the whole truth, and because of that, people's lives are going everywhere. It's going wayward. So, me being able to be blunt and tell the whole truth and not hold anything back, I think that's why my channel is um, the channel you should watch.
And that helps us in every area. You could help Maria out there. I mean, there's beautiful Maria, and she loves life. She loves the Lord. She's single. What would you tell Maria today in this generation to be happy?
Maria, I would just tell you that you know, you don't really need, you know, you're single. A lot of people will tell you to find somebody in your life, but you don't need to find someone in your life. Like, you don't have to go out your way to find someone. If someone comes, if God sends someone, that's what it is. But really, you don't need that to be happy. You can find happiness within yourself. You know, in the Bible, it gives you all the answers. You can have peace. You can have joy. You can have love. You already have access to it. You know, you don't need anyone else. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Now, I have a 90-year-old. She's going to be 90 in October. What would you tell a 90-year-old that's still looking for a boyfriend? And she really, I mean, that's fair.
I mean, you know, I would really just say the same thing. You know, if
Make sure they're breathing.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean.
Is there an age limit?
There's no age limit.
So she can have a 40-year-old boyfriend?
Yeah.
I mean, we're on your podcast, and people are
guess.
calling it. My friend's 90 years old, and she wants a 40-year-old boyfriend. What do you want me to tell my friend?
I mean, if that's something, if that's something you want to do, then I guess, you know, as long as they put God first, and as long as you're putting God first, and as long as you know, it's not something that's gonna lead you away from the word, then go for it.
What about the guy that does not want God? This is for the girl out there watching.
Mm-hmm.
What about the guy that does not want God,
Mm-hmm.
and the girl that wants God, and they're dating, and they're both trying to pull and tug each other their way? How do you see that ending, and how can a woman be strong enough to tell the guy, or vice versa, look, it's God first?
How do I see it ending? Well, the relationship is just not going to work out. Like, it's going to end. They're going to go their separate ways. What you believe in, your faith is an extremely important part of you. It should be an important part of everyone. But if a guy doesn't want God, then it's kind of like, you know, where are we going? Because imagine they get married. They're not getting married for the same reasons now. You know, marriage is supposed to be a covenant. It's supposed to be, you know what I mean? You two are supposed to be y'all supposed to be there for each other. Y'all supposed to be together. But if you don't have God, then it's kind of like it's just legal paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
What is it really? You know what I mean? So that relationship isn't really going to go anywhere if they both don't have God. And what I would tell that woman to be strong is continue to show him the way. Continue to show him Jesus, even though he's, you know what I mean, he may not want to hear it all the time. You know, keep doing it, because if you really love this man, then you got to show him the truth. You know.
And how do you answer a question from a girl that's saying, "Okay, Kyle, I agree, but I've been having sex with my boyfriend now for 2 years. You know, we're already having sex. I get it. We're not supposed to. It said so in the Bible. I've just started to go to church. But I don't want to lose them. And if I, and this is a deep question. In being in the ministry, I've learned this. There's a lot of questions like you've seen, and a lot of pastors who just don't answer. They beat around the bush. They don't tell the truth.
Mhm.
Pastor, we're gay and we want to come to church and we can bring our whole family and stuff. And I say, you can come to church, but you're going to hear every week it's not according to God. That's what we do here. Tell the
Right.
truth, right?
Right.
In your case, those kind of questions are so vital because everybody wants what you have. Everybody wants what you have. Do you see what I mean? They want it. My own daughter would want it. She's raised with me, but her age and her friends, and they're thinking, okay, Cal, but I've been having sex with my boyfriend since 12th grade. What do I do?
I mean, what I would say is it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be difficult. But you gotta speak up and tell your partner, like, this is clearly wrong. And if you want our relationship to be blessed and to go far, then we need to stop doing this.
And
As
that's
simple
it.
as that.
And if you can say that, I'm gonna watch your YouTube because if you say I don't know, I mean, what would you tell a girl that said, Kyle, I think you're handsome, which you are, and I think you're talented, and come on, I know you like Pastor Charlie, and I know you like Pastor Chuck and stuff like that, but we need to have sex. I mean, we're young, we need to have some fun.
Well, like you always say in your sermons, or someone usually quotes you when you say, with the devil, it starts out easy but ends hard. With God, it starts out hard but ends easy.
Yeah, say it
I
again
think-
slow. This
Okay,
is good.
sorry.
Write this down out there if
Yes,
you're
yes.
watching this.
With the devil, it starts out easy but ends hard. And with God, it starts out hard but ends easy. And I think that applies to all situations like that. I think even if I was in a 3-year relationship where we had been, having sex, I guess, and then all of a sudden I found God and I realized that I was wrong and I was convicted, we would still have to stop. Even the 3 years isn't, God's not like, oh well, 3 years, I'll let it slide. Like no, like it's still wrong. So it doesn't really change, how wrong it is just because there are extenuating circumstances, because that goes into all kinds of other areas of life. There's a lot of things that you're not supposed to do that are in the Bible, and all of those areas are just as important as sex. Even just being kind and loving to someone. I shouldn't have any unforgiveness in my heart for someone else. But that person did this terrible thing. Or they broke my favorite vase. They scratched up my favorite disc. I can't. There's no reason for that can justify me being wrong.
Right.
So even my incredible amount of lust for some girl, no matter how hot she is, it still doesn't make it okay.
What's the hardest thing you had to, I won't say give up, but what's the hardest thing you had to conquer in your life when you made that move to say, I'm going to love the Lord with my whole heart?
Man, I had to give up a couple of things. I had to give up. I like to go out a lot.
Yeah.
I had to give that up. Lust. I had to give lust up. No more.
That's the hardest thing to
nothing.
give up.
Yeah.
3 things shut a ministry down: money, lust, or sickness. So either a pastor dies, early in his life sick, they get cancer, something happens. Money, they steal all the offerings and go, and spend it on themselves, and they get sued and they lose the ministry. And the third one is a cute praise and worship singer. Lust at the praise. Thank God my daughter's the praise and worship singer, and she's cute. But I'm just saying they fall in love with the praise and worship. And now they're even saying, and I looked at the statistic, homosexuality. All of a sudden the pastor don't even know why, but all of a sudden now they think they're gay, and they come out and announce it over the pulpit, and it's happening in a few churches in Orange County where people are leaving because of that. So lust is a major one. What else? Anything else?
Those are the 2 biggest ones that I can think of.
Were you always financially taken care of?
Yes.
So you have a good life where you had parents behind you that support your vision. Do your parents ever say, you better find a job, you better do something?
Yeah. I've always been raised. I've had anything that I needed. I had it. But the way I was raised, I gotta get my own. I gotta go get a job. I gotta make sure that I'm able to sustain myself.
Did you ever have a normal job?
I've worked at the movies, so yeah, little 9 to 5, yeah.
And when you were there, how did it feel?
Um,
Come
it
on, it was
was
like, I don't want to be
yeah,
here.
yeah, I didn't like it really being there for 8 hours, and I was tired being there till like 11, 12. But I was making money though, so.
But while you were there, were you thinking, God, I wish I could be on my podcast talking?
Yeah, well, I didn't have a podcast at the time, but I would if I was working there now. That's exactly what I would be thinking. Yeah.
Do you ever look back and think, oh, well, I'm going to have to get it? Or are you going to really push to make this work, that this could be your career?
No, I mean, I'm going to really push to make this work. I mean, it already has. I mean, I'm seeing good amounts of success.
And when parents see that, they have your back.
I mean,
don't ask them. They're not even here. Man, right? When parents see how hard a child works, we as parents, we support them. We have their back, and we think, and then you find other people that support you. Like we support the theater. We support these kids that want to come in and do certain things. I find it amazing how everything's tying in together.
Yeah.
Your podcast, your YouTube, the theater, Charlie's career, Mia's poetry. I mean, everything's starting to come together, and thank God we're opening our eyes to see it. I don't give my chair up much, but I'm going to give it up to Pastor Charlie, and I'm going to show you kind of how it works with the young generation, and it's not planned. This isn't planned. I'm going to kind of show you what a podcast show would be like. And if some of you want to ask some questions and shout out some questions, come on up here, Charlie. This is my son, Charlie. Put your hands together. Give him a nice big round of applause. And, watching him grow up, he can talk a little bit about growing up in a pastor's house, growing up with a father that's so harsh and mean and but I'm gonna have him take over at the part of, and we talked about it with you guys, COVID, and what happened to COVID, what happened during the time for your life with COVID, and what you started to do with your show. Look, you say, yeah, right, get out of here.
That's one of my first questions that I wanted to ask Kyle.
Okay.
But I guess it could be for either Kyle. Should I wait till Charlie says what he did, or can I?
No, go ahead and ask your question now, Elder Deborah. Let's get to it.
Well, my question is this. You were saying during COVID that you started looking up different things, and it was spiritualist-centered.
Yeah.
Did you know that during COVID, Charlie had a podcast, or not a podcast?
I want you to do it one more time.
Thank you. I was saying that Kyle McCray actually said during COVID that one of the things he did was focus more on the spiritualist aspect of it as compared to the Word of God aspect of it, where you were searching and looking for answers. During that time, did you know that Charlie Battaglia, somebody that you had gone to OLU with, or maybe not at the same time, but had a podcast or YouTube
The Bible show,
that was
Instagram.
focused on the Bible, and he was every day, every Tuesday,
Every day.
every
Monday
day.
through Friday, yeah.
Yeah, going through that and giving out what the Lord was imparting to him. And I was just wondering if you knew that and had a chance to hear him.
I did not know.
It's funny
look
because
what the Lord did.
Kyle and I in high school, we weren't really close in high school at all. Like I would just walk by Kyle because I knew Kyle and Kyle were friends, but we were never in the same group. We were never in theater together. He was on the basketball team and I was nowhere near the basketball team. So we would kind of see each other in passing at lunch every once in a while. But that was as far as our relationship went. In high school, I didn't really reconnect with Kyle until during like the tail end of COVID, I would say. And a little bit of a backtrack, what Elder Deborah was talking about is I think we all kind of like found our way during COVID. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it was during the time where we had nothing to do in life because everything else was shut down, right? I feel like that's when we all kind of started to discover our true purpose. For me, it was getting closer to God and starting the Bible time with Charlie, which I started right off the bat during COVID-19 because all the theaters shut down and I wasn't able to do any acting. All the film studios were closed. There was no going on sets. Everything was shut down. So I was like, man, God, what am I going to do? And God woke me up in the middle of the night and he said, Charlie, I want you to go live on Instagram tomorrow morning to all of your atheist friends and start talking about the Bible. And you always know it's from God when you don't want to do it, right? And that's kind of how I knew it was the Holy Spirit tugging me to start that Bible time with Charlie. And from then on there, we did it every Monday through Friday for the next 3 months. And from then on, I started preaching here live on Friday nights with my dad. He let me share the pulpit with him, which he never does with anybody. So that was a really big deal. And then all of a sudden, come December, I was ordained a pastor, and that was December of 2020. And ever since then, you know, when he's out of town, and even sometimes when he's in town, I'm the one running this place, you know. And we've really built this place up with the stage and the lighting, and now we have the theater here on the weekends, which Kyle, I call him Cam because, you know, I'm with these two all the time. So instead of calling him Kyle 2 or Kyle 1, you know, it's Kyle and Cam, KoldHartKam. So, but he's actually a really good stage manager too, because we've had him on the weekends stage manage our shows. And the first one, it was a little bit of a flop because some people were missing their cues and stuff. But by the second show, man, you got it down cold. And he was the best. And for those of you who might not know, Kyle's also a really good actor, man. And I'm surprised you didn't talk about that more because I know that's something that you want to pursue in life, man. So what about your acting career? What do you think about it? Is it just for fun or is it something that you're taking serious?
I mean, it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I mean, I've just been blessed that you guys started American Cheese, and that you guys are having me on a few of your short films. And at first I was kind of thinking like this is cool, like as you know, like a little hobby, but I've been really getting into it, and I kind of want to take it more serious. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, he's in 3 of our movies, right? 3? Yeah, so you can check him out on YouTube, and he does a great job. And he was the lead role in the last one we did, The Rizzler, and he's got a great look about him. And we're working on a pilot right now, actually, that we're looking to shop to a few networks, and he's going to be one of the lead roles in that too. So keep a lookout for that. It's finally getting its feet back on the ground in terms of shooting. It kind of went on hiatus for a while, but now I think we're getting back, and Roman is the producer of that show. So we'll see how that goes. And Kyle's just a phenomenal, all-around great dude. And when did you, I know during COVID you had kind of like another platform you were doing stuff on. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Well, that was when I was on TikTok
Right.
a lot. And I was talking about like, you know, the spiritual kind of things, as well as like, you know, like conspiracy theories and stuff like that.
Because that's kind of how you got your fame at first, right?
That's how
conspiracy TikTok.
Yeah, that's how I started my my social media presence. And then after a while, I don't know, I just switched over to different stuff just because I just wasn't, I don't know, something in me was just telling me I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
You know.
And that's funny because during COVID, you couldn't help but get into like the conspiracy stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was all that was going on. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
And you went down the rabbit hole, and they were telling you who the good guys were, who the bad guys were, and who was drinking blood and who wasn't drinking blood, and all kinds of crazy stuff that you wouldn't even believe. And I remember that's how we kind of like got along at first, because I was into the same stuff that you were into during COVID. But what happens is you get too deep into it and you forget that everything's going to be okay. And it kind of gets depressing. Did you find yourself like going down like a dark tunnel, like when you were like researching all that?
Yeah, it was real dark. That's why I turned back to the Lord, because it was just getting too.
What about you, dude? Because I know you went down that rabbit hole too.
I went down the rabbit hole like for a second, and then it caused me to like argue with my mom a little bit, because I was like, "Mom, I'm trying to save you. And there are terrible people out there." And she's like, "No, I don't want to talk about it." And so I was like, "I'm just not gonna deal with this anymore, and I'm not gonna argue with my mom." So I walked right back out the rabbit hole.
And I still know a lot of people who are deep, you know, they're deep into that kind of stuff that, you know, and I'm talking about like the deep state stuff, you know, I mean, people go onto the dark web and they find videos of them doing things that, you know, people shouldn't be doing. And I believe that stuff is 100% real. But when you're taking all of your time instead of focusing on the word, and you're diving into that stuff and there's nothing that you could really do about it, it could be a depressing thing. So I had to get out of it myself and start looking towards the light and looking towards the Bible and looking towards the truth. And I think it all comes down to, you got to do what you're called to do here on this earth. I mean, if it's to fight the principalities and the rulers of this dark world, which it is to do, you got to do it through what you're called to do. And I believe you're doing that through your show. You guys are doing that through the podcast. We're doing it through American Cheese and through the movies we're bringing out. We're doing it through the church. I don't think it's a coincidence that everything we kind of do is we work right out of the church, which I think is a really cool thing. Kyle and I, we make our movies right here in this church. We film things right here in this church. We write things right here in this church. Our live shows on the weekends, we built this stage and these lights so that we could do it for the community through this church. It all starts in the local church. And I think it's really cool that God brought us all together, especially in a time like this, to fulfill that purpose. What do you guys think about? What do you think the importance is of the local church?
I think the local church is very important because I think community is very important. And I think having a place to go to regularly, especially a church like this where it's open constantly. Like there's not really a night that it's not really available for any help. Even if you came on, a Saturday night, someone could pray for you after one of the shows. Or if we're rehearsing for the shows, someone would pray for you on a Friday night. So there's always an opportunity to come in and have someone help you through whatever you're going through. And especially, we always talk about on the podcast about this church. We always tell them, we tell them that they should go to a church that teaches the truth, because there's a lot of churches out there that are sugarcoating a lot of the messages that are found in the Bible. And I think when you read the Word, you find out that a lot of it is pretty black and white, right and wrong. So that's what I think is important about a place like this, a place like Brand New Life.
What about you, Cal?
Yeah, I agree. I like the community aspect of it, especially because, I go to college. So in college, you got all type of different people with different backgrounds that support different things. And the thing I see least is love for Jesus. And so, coming to the church is extremely important because I get to be around other believers, which I'm not around a whole lot of believers when I go to back to San Diego to go back to college. So yeah, just the community aspect, the unity, all that.
What do you think the number one way to get Jesus to people is nowadays? Do you think it's through social media? Do you think that's really helping get the truth out there with all the censoring that's going on? Or do you think it's more so going out and bringing people into the local church? I mean, what do you see the future of our generation, the next Jesus movement? What do you see that being? Because everybody's talking about it right now with the whole Jesus revolution and all of that stuff coming out. What do you really see? Because I found myself thinking about this today. What do you see as the next Jesus revolution to really get people the next great awakening? We know what that means. What do you see that being?
I mean, I think it'll come through social media. I mean, that's my best guess. Just because it's there's a whole lot of censorship, but I think there's not so much censorship that it's like it just completely, you just can't post anything about Jesus.
Right.
So I think if we use social media the right way, I think we can really get Jesus to the masses. But not just that. I think companies that put stuff on Netflix and stuff like that. Right. And Hulu and all of that, streaming services, streaming platforms, I think they play a big role in it too. Mm-hmm. I think we need more Christian-based movies, or at least movies that don't promote, sin and all of that. I think that'll be the next catalyst for it, social media and like streaming and stuff like that.
Do you think it's important, because we're all actors and we all have like an itch for the entertainment industry? We could easily be those guys who move to LA and try to get an agent and try to pursue acting in Hollywood and that field. But do you think it's important in times like these, especially as believers, and especially as people who may not have the same agenda or opinions as the rest of the entertainment industry or people in that field? Do you think it's important to build your own empire, to build your own production company?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone wants to go be a part of something else, but really, if you build your own thing, now you have complete control. You know what I mean? I remember I was in the car with Kyle one day when we were filming The Rizzler, and I think he was saying something along the lines of like, I always wanted to, make movies with my friends, you know what I mean, stuff like that. And then he said he thought about it, and he's already doing that. You know what I mean? We don't need to be in Hollywood. We don't need to be a part of all the weird stuff going on over there. We already got something here in the church. You know what I mean? So I think you guys building American cheese from the ground in the church is really gonna help you guys to get Jesus' name out there more. And I think it'll be way better than if you were to go somewhere else and be part of some other company that believes some different beliefs and stuff.
Right.
You know?
Alderana?
Okay, so you have podcasts and you have YouTube and you did TikTok. On any of those social medias platforms, have you been censored yet? And if so, how did you handle it?
I have not been censored since I started talking about relationships and stuff like that. When I was talking about the conspiracies and spiritual stuff, I was getting censored.
Okay.
But no, not recently.
Right. Go ahead, Elder Gloria.
Kyle, you mentioned when you were going to Lutheran school, and I was a little bit surprised what you said, that you had not been saved and you have not been baptized. If it's a Christian school, why don't they do that? Why don't they make it more often? Or I don't know if you were just one individual that hadn't been saved. That surprised me.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I had accepted Jesus as my savior, and I mean, I don't want to make Orange Lutheran look bad or anything, but it was really because we would have theology classes, but we would really learn more about like the geography and stuff, like where Jesus was at a specific time. It wasn't really about building a relationship. It was more just about learning it from like we were just looking at a sheet of facts. Yeah, like a history class. It was like a history class basically. And they did. I think they probably did have programs and stuff where we could get to know the Lord better. But it's
Their
just I
theology
wasn't.
program was terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
If I could go back and change it or say something to them, I would, because I think through their theology classes, a lot of people fell away from God and not grew closer to God.
Yeah.
And I feel the same thing about their chapels too. Because they, like you said, they approached it from way more of a historical context, which people don't need a historical context of the Bible. We have that already. You need to really dive into the spiritual meaning of it and what it can do for you for your life today. And Orange Lutheran never talked about that. And I think if they would have, people would have been more interested and they wouldn't have strayed as far away as they did. And I don't know what they're doing now. I mean, it's been a few years since we graduated, but hopefully they've worked on it. And it doesn't help that they are a Lutheran school either, so they have to work underneath the Lutheran thesis and the Lutheran law. So, and the Lutheran doctrines aren't as spiritual as like a non-denominational Christian or a word of faith, It's not the same thing. So I think the fact that they had to work under that was also kind of a wall to the spiritual side of things in terms of the Bible.
Cam, I met your lovely mother, Tracy, at the door, and I asked her a couple questions. And I wanted to know how you started off your podcast with 400 viewers.
The Black Kyle podcast or the or my YouTube?
Oh, so YouTube.
How I started off with
That many 400 views already
Oh.
from day one.
That was because I had been on TikTok before, so I had a little bit of an audience, and then they came over to my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
She also explained, because I asked her, does anybody get paid for doing what you're doing?
Oh yeah.
And she
Yeah.
explained to me. Why don't you explain to other people how you get paid doing podcasts?
Yeah, so on YouTube, the way it works is you get paid pretty much per view, and so every video you put up, you share about 50% of the revenue with YouTube, and then you take home 50% from different companies that put ads on your videos. So there's not like an exact ratio for how much you get paid per view. It depends on your channel. It depends on the type of content you post, even like where you live. And then on the 21st of every month is when you get paid from however much you made from the last month. So what is it? It's March right now. So on the 21st of March, I got paid for what I did in February. Yeah. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Black China and how she got saved? And do you see that not influencing, but I guess influencing or making others like be more open about their faith, or seeing how she was so far into what she was in and getting the tattoo removed and all that. Do you think that's going to be, I don't know,
Like
a
influential.
yeah, like a positive
Yeah.
thing, and see that happening more?
Yeah. I don't know if it'll happen more. But I mean that's definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, for those of you guys that don't know who Black China is, she's like an Instagram model, very out there. Shows a lot of her body. She had like some kind of demonic tattoo on her that she got removed. And she's recently turned to Jesus and got baptized and everything like that. Yeah, yeah. Um, and I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm happy that she found the truth, really. And I think, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a wonderful thing, and hopefully more celebrities do that. Um, we'll see if they do. A lot of them are very like into the world, into their money and the fame and stuff like that. But that's definitely a positive, and it's probably influenced a lot of people already. So
I got a question for you, Cam, really quick. When you first started out your podcast, did you talk about God? Or not the podcast, but your YouTube channel. Was it
Yeah.
always God, like
No.
right away, right off the bat?
No,
So when did you start talking about God on your channel? Because I noticed, being a follower of yours, that you weren't always doing that.
Yeah.
But then recently you've been doing it a lot more.
yeah, so like I told Pastor Chuck, so like last year around summer is when
Yeah.
I started to incorporate God into my content. But the beginning definitely not, I wasn't talking about God.
Did that change your audience at all? Did your audience respect you for it? Did you lose some people?
Actually gained a lot more
Amen.
people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
That's really cool,
Blessing.
man. That's
Yeah.
great. So you kept your following, and then you gained plus more for keeping God in the equation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I honestly was nervous because I didn't know how it was gonna come across.
Right.
But a lot of people were in support of it, and I've grown exponentially since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We have a question over here. All right, let's do it.
Kyle McCray, you've been very, very impressive tonight, young man. Absolutely, no matter what the age group is.
Thank you.
And I know my wife Mary interviewed you earlier on. She gets embarrassed when I do this. So I knew you were a good kid from the beginning. And I've also met your mum and dad, Leonard and Tracy, and young Jordan over there. So a lovely family, and you've been an absolute pleasure to listen to and watch tonight, young man. Now, here's a wee question. I went on I subscribed to your YouTube page, you're 89,000 or something. Once you reach 100,000, just as a marker, where are you going to go from there?
Where am I gonna go from after I hit
What's your next
100,000?
goal?
Next goal, 500,000, million.
Good for you.
Gonna keep going up.
Keep
I
low.
guess,
That's
yeah.
it. 500,000 the next one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, mate. You've done a great job. Where are you from? Come
Glasgow.
on. Thank you.
Glasgow.
No.
You just
That's
dropped
my
it.
name. My name. Yes, Scott.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Actually, Kyle, I wanted to know, you said you go to school in San Diego, and this is just a sports thing for me. Is it by any chance San Diego State?
No, UC San Diego. My mom went to San Diego State.
All right, okay, so you're at least Final Fouring with me. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And then really the last one is just a comment, because Pastor Chuck had asked you something about what is your goal, what's your visions and things like that. And you said maybe as an influencer or something. And as I'm reading this book, The Leadership Secrets of Jesus, it says, well, before I even say that part, I want to say this other thing that Pastor Chuck tells us came from the Copelands, but it says, in consistency lies the victory. So through consistency comes victory. And the leadership secret of Jesus says, preparation time is never wasted time. So
I
just
agree.
wanted to leave you with
Preparation time.
Amen.
Where's Kyle? Oh, preparation time is never wait. We've been preparing this church for, guess what? Tomorrow, we'll be in here 22 years. Amy and I were ordained April 1st, 22 years ago. And she reminded me that today. I was so busy with everything else, I was walking out of the house, and she said, by the way, tomorrow we'll have been in the ministry for 22 years. And, I think, wow, that's and I love what Elder Gloria, it's not inconsistency. Inconsistency, doing something over and over again, brings success. And I love what Pastor Amy said yesterday. Remember about success? What'd she say? Do you remember?
About success?
Yeah, remember the line? You loved one line and then I loved the other line. I said, when you find something, then you're successful. What are we talking about? Oh, shoot. She's watching. Type it in. I said your passion, but she said, the minute you find God, you find your success. It wasn't that cliche. She'll type it in a minute.
I know the one that I liked that she said was, God cares more about your character than your comfort. And I think that was like really great.
Amen.
Yeah.
And somebody said Black China was paid off by the Kardashians. I hope not. And I really want to clarify that. I know we try to be funny and we try to do that, but I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I pray Black China, unlike Kanye, who put a big fire with God and then backed off a little bit. And I pray Black China's sincere. And I pray that she is really going to be true and be an example. Somebody's got to be an example. Yeah. And if it could be her, I look at it this way. I think nobody's going to get a tattoo removed and everything if they're just doing it for fun. They'll do it and they'll think, you ain't touching me. We'll just wear a long sleeve shirt. But yes. Wait, come here a minute. Not come here. I'll give you the mic because I want to hear. For real, I just got on the. I am not going up there. Talk loud. Turn her up.
No, she displayed on her social media and explained. She put a picture of what the tattoo was,
right,
and explained what it meant, what it represented, and it was all demonic and demonology and the devil, pretty much. But so she explained it, and she said that she didn't want any type of the mark of the beast on her, anything to give him power anymore.
And I believe that. What do you think?
I feel like she's being sincere.
I think I was when Kanye made his album, and he was out there. I was all hyped. I was all excited about it. And he went on Joel Osteen, and a couple months later, Joel Osteen's like, oh, but he was giving him a chance. Worldwide, and the album was a great album, and I cried when I heard some of the songs and saw the movement. But I'm believing, Kyle, you're going to be more than just a movement.
Yeah. It's not even about me, really.
It's about the Lord.
It's about the Lord. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do the Black Kyles have any merch coming up?
Very soon.
We don't have any Black Kyle podcast merch yet, but Kyle has a clothing line that he's been working on. So
tell us about your clothing line before we wrap up.
I
thought Will had the clothing line.
He does have one.
What's funny? They come to church and everybody sees them with Charlie and stuff, and people have been coming to church for a long time and they're looking at you. They don't understand these young entrepreneurs now. They're looking at them like they're kids, and there's clothing lines going on at production companies, and I think old people forget. You had your time. This is the young generation. When I was their age, I was doing a lot of things. This is it. This is what's the next. And a lot of churches fail. You don't let the youth or the young people do anything. Pretty soon the pastor's 90, and nothing against 90, but the pastor's 90, and they wonder whatever happened to the church. Everybody died. None of the younger kids came into the church anymore and did anything. And I have to tell you the truth. I learned so much from them. I watch them. They think I don't watch them, but I learn a lot from my son and my daughter and them, and it helps me stay young and see what's going on in the world. What were you going to say?
The
clothing line.
Yeah. So I've been working on it for a while, for a few months. It'll be dropping sometime soon, the next few months. It's in the works right now.
All right. Yeah. And I wanted to show you this, just to show you a little bit of what they do. That's podcast. You just get up and you talk. It's easy. We used to do that around my table at home. If we'd have had a camera back there, I would have been a millionaire. But you just sit around and talk about discussions, and I don't know why, but people are hungry for that. And I believe it's because they don't have answers. And they want to hear from somebody. I mean, when back in my days, if Black China would have found God, nobody would have even cared. First of all, we wouldn't have known unless it's in a photo play magazine, But nowadays, you just hear everything the minute it happens. So that's how quick you're all going to have to be on your social media. You have to be quicker than the devil, because the devil's quick. And if we're not quicker than the devil to notice what God wants us to do, we're going to miss it. And I love what Elder Deborah said, because, a lot of people say, I remember when we started one-on-one, they said, it's just another show. You must not have something to do on Friday. And I was thinking, it's consistency. Keep doing it. And we're not inconsistent trying to be famous. We're trying to save people one at a time. If you can save a person one at a time, you can go home. And I believe you're saving a lot of people. And I believe you are. And I know my son is. And I believe one by one turns into 2, turns into 5. And, let me tell you something as I close. The hippie days are over. I saw the Jesus Revolution. I love it. I think it's great. I'd go see it again. I would tell everyone to go see it to get revved up. But don't try to go to the beach and save hippies. And don't invite people to your house to stay. It's a different time. And the hippies out there today are not as nice as the hippies back then. You know what I mean? Back then, they were just love. Back then, it was just fun to be out there being Jesus, saved by Jesus. Today, you got to do a lot more to save people. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Did you see the movie?
I did not.
You saw the movie.
I did see the
I mean, do you agree what I'm saying about that?
I do agree, and I'll say this too. I think the movement starts with you, really. Everyone wants to see a big Jesus movement. Everyone wants to see 100,000 people at the beach getting baptized. But I think the movement starts with you and your movement towards Jesus. I think Kyle started a movement because Kyle was working on his relationship with Jesus.
That's right.
And that in turn, he didn't wake up one day and was just like, oh, I want to talk about Jesus on my YouTube channel. He wanted to talk about Jesus because he was called to talk about Jesus. Because of his relationship with Jesus. His knowledge of who Jesus was is what made him speak about Jesus on his platform. And now he does that to 80,000 plus people. So that's where the movement started within him, not because he was like, oh, I want to go out and start a movement. And so, I mean, that movie was amazing. It was cool.
Oh, I love the movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie. But I think a lot of, I was talking to a girl today, and everyone wants to, have this philosophical, I guess, conversation about God and all that stuff. And, oh, God is energy. This is energy, the universe, and where I'm God, and blah, blah, blah. And that's great. And that's fun. Good job. But I think that it's a simple fact of right and wrong. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. And I think the easiest way to get people to come to Jesus, like Charlie was talking about earlier, is by being an example. And that's what Kyle's doing. That's why he's so great. And that's why he's so successful, because God sees that.
And I'm 63. I could say that now. I am, right? Where's Diane Hughes? I'm 63. And you impress me.
Thank you.
And that's a good, I'm not saying that's a big deal, but you both of you, I know my son has to, but and really he doesn't, because there's a lot of disappointed parents out there with their kids. And I've never been that my whole life, ever been a disappointed parent with any of my kids. But when I look at you, I think, to just sit up here with you with dreams and visions gives me hope. And it should give all of you hope, And again, I want to close with this. Quit saying the world's so bad. Quit saying this young generation. Quit saying, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Because Francisco, they know what they're doing, right? What'd you get? Did you learn anything tonight? What was the best part you learned tonight? I mean, I want to ask you, because Francisco's my new friend, and he's quiet, but I know he's a great guy, and he's an entertainer too, right?
Correct. Yes.
So what are you getting out of this?
To just keep on going. Consistency is everything. Basically, as well. God is great. He got you in the right path. He got Kyle in the right path. I plan that hopefully he has me in the right path as well.
And what do you do?
Currently, for work.
No, but what we were talking about.
So I'm an audio engineer. So I produce music.
You produce music.
Correct.
So when you're producing music, are you ever embarrassed to include God into it?
No, I actually do. So I'm a rapper, so I actually do mention God a lot. Although I'm not as Christian as many of you guys is, so I do tend to fall away from the word a bit. But nonetheless, I do believe in God and have my own relationship.
And let me tell you what the Lord said. Never say you're not. I'm going to say this the best I could. No one is beneath anybody in this. In other words, there is no one. I was a rock and roll singer, and I thought I loved God. I had an affair, and I thought I loved God. I was drunk, and I thought I loved God. It's a process. It's a time. And I didn't have an affair on this one. I don't, in case everybody say, well, that's weird. By the way, in case my wife's watching, she is. Not you, honey. But I did everything I wasn't supposed to do and felt that way. And the only one that's going to make you feel that way is who?
God.
No, who's going to make you feel? Who's going to make you feel like you're nothing?
Oh, the devil.
So what do you tell him? I mean, if all of you don't get him and get that rap music involved in the theater, if he wants to, we're going to lose. Because, he's going to go and there's very few places you're going to go to be able to find somebody to say, come on up and do it while you're learning. And I made many mistakes being a pastor. Many. And I remember the first time my best friends asked me, we were having sex before marriage. And I wasn't a pastor. I was just Chuck Battaglia, the praise and worship singer. And they said, we're having sex before marriage. I said, well, they said, what should we do? We like this church. It was another church. And I said, don't tell. That was what I told them. I wish I was like you. And I was older. I said, just don't tell. And they're like, I could still remember, I was watching kids play. I was the guardian for the kids that day, and there was a chain link fence. And they're looking through the fence, and I'm looking through the holes. I says, hey, idiot, don't tell people. I mean, why would you tell people? That they're going to tell you not do it because that's the rule. But just don't tell people. And, it's not like your head's going to blow off. Just go have fun. And when you get married, get married. And I thought, man, I did God's work. And God. and you know how great God was, man? Francisco, he just looked and went, you know what? You need a lot of work. You need a lot of work. And we all do. And I believe you were sent here for the reason to show your talents. And if Kyle and Charlie and everybody, give you the opportunity and you don't want to, that's your business. But if they miss it, then you're going to be accountable for that because I can already tell he's great. And I can already tell he's a talented guy. What do you say to him?
Just keep going. I mean, I kind of got into the hobby of producing music. I have a roommate that does it. And he's really into it. It's all about consistency, man.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, especially because you're a rapper. I mean, I know it's tough because, everyone's doing that these days. They're making music. But, man, just keep talking about the Lord and stay consistent with it, and you'll stand out, man.
Thank you.
Do you rap for the Lord?
I not necessarily, not about it, if that's what you're asking.
Well, like Ramon, when he raps, he's got Christian songs.
Oh, so no.
None of those yet?
No.
Okay, cool. But, and everybody else, Pastor, we would sing, but we don't know a gospel song. Sing a love song. Do something for God so that God can then bless you and take you from there. Anything else before we close you want to say to anybody? Especially watching?
I think she has a question.
This is the last question. And it better be a good one.
I think it's wonderful what you're doing, and at such a young age. It's just keep on going. I think it's great, and God's going to really use you and bless you. Okay, I'm impressed that you got 80,000 views on your podcast.
Yeah, subscribers, yeah.
Okay, how do I get your podcast, and how long is your podcast?
Well, on my YouTube channel, you can type in the YouTube KoldHartKam.
Yes, it's KoldHartKam with a K. KoldHartKam with a KAM. And that's how you go onto YouTube. And the podcast is, or Instagram is the Black Kyle Podcast, right?
Yeah.
So if you type in the Black Kyle Podcast, your podcast will come up.
Yeah.
And then Instagram, to
Yeah.
follow your Instagrams, the Black Kyle Podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if there was any questions that I left out. Nope. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any personal. No, you answered. No, in fact, we did way better. We didn't even use them. So, did you have fun?
I did.
Did you all have fun? Amen. And as you see, you know, trust me, God's working in the room. And he really is. We think we're just having fun and it's a Friday night, but every time we do something in this church, big or small, Sunday or tonight, God always is doing something. And he could be doing something for one of you tonight. You know, just watching this could make you, you know, you could have touched somebody tonight to just make them want their dreams to happen. You reminded Charlie, you reminded Kyle, you know, that they can go. So when I put guests on this show, I want to let you know, you should never ask God, how did I do? How was it? Did, man, you know, not my friend didn't come, or how many people. Man, heaven is rejoicing. And God put you in this chair for one reason we'll never know. You were in this chair tonight. You know, I brought my son up for a reason. You were here and I go home now and forget about it. You know, one thing, I don't know if my wife's watching, but she's always late. And she's just late. She's just, what do you tell, you know, I say, come on, let's go on time. What do you tell a white, oh, she is watching. Ooh, my Fitbit went. What do you tell a guy, I mean, what do you tell, help me. Help me. Because you're going to see Pastor Amy this week, so you better have a good answer. But what do you tell somebody when I say, you know, what do I say? What do I do? What do I say?
Patience.
No, don't. What do you say on your podcast? Tell Pastor Amy, help me out there.
About being late?
Late, yeah, she should be. Should she be late? What does God say?
Just, you know. Like,
oh, you ain't helping me. I'm not asking you. What would you tell the guy?
I would tell the guy just
sit down and wait.
Thanks. Everybody's on your side, Amy. Just sit down and wait. I told you, and I'll close with this. Frank Sinatra was dating Ava Gardner. You young kids don't know him. I love this story. Dating Ava Gardner, and year after year, you should be late. They were dating for a few years. So, you know, after the first time, and she didn't care. Well, he was invited to like Johnny Carson's birthday party, and he didn't want to be late. And sure enough, Ava Gardner was like, do you like these earrings? And she'd go back in, do you like the, so he was having martinis, and by the time the party started at 7, he missed the surprise already. And she was still getting dressed at 7:45. And he wasn't going to embarrass himself by going late to Johnny Carson's birthday party. So she was just standing there, you know, and she came down and she said, well, now I'm ready. And we are going to look amazing. And they were outside, and he pushed her in the pool with the martini. He just pushed her in the pool, and he said, we're not going. She was never late again. But I'm not saying, what?
How much longer were they together after?
Oh, not long, not long. But never push your wife in the pool. But I always find that funny because what makes me accept that women, they were late then. Yeah. You see? So I'm getting myself out of it. So you just let it go and you don't worry about it. Any last advice to anybody?
Just tell them to start earlier.
Yeah.
I guess don't believe the lie of limitation. That's been something that's been on my heart for the past couple of weeks. Don't believe the lie of limitation. Yeah.
That's your next sermon?
Yeah.
Because he's preaching on Good Friday.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to let you know that we are going to be here. Who's running the camera? Who? He's not there. And it went off. Jeff just walked outside.
It's got on autopilot.
Yeah. Are we still live?
You're on.
Are we? Okay. I just checking. So I thought he's the only one that got raptured. We're all here. That would have been all this work
Jeff
you're
was
doing.
always right.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Tell YouTube now. Jeff, the guy that goes, hey, what's up? In the movie, got raptured.
What's up, guys?
So we got a powerful week. It's going to be an amazing Sunday. If you don't have a church out there, we encourage you to come here. You may be a guest on our show, and it'll be a fun show. We are not doing it every Friday. I just do it when the Lord leads, and I like that better. And I'm just excited that you were the one that the Lord chose us to have. I think you're amazing. I think you're talented. I think you're, in front of your parents, I could tell you this, they did a great job. I mean, they did a 100% great job on raising you. And I do say this, I know that everybody goes through junk. Because even when people say, your kids are so bright, I think, yeah, you know, it's family. There's always that where you got to go through challenges and make things happen. But it looks, and I'm so blessed that you guys got it together. And your brother, he's an amazing guy. I didn't get to meet him and talk to him much. But, you know, it's really so rare to see family get along. It really is. I mean, to have your brother come and see you tonight, and is that your only sibling?
Yeah.
Okay, so to see that, you know, you had to think about it. Yeah, well, I got 4 other ones I don't know. 3, no, we're gonna no, it's okay. But to see him come and see you and support you, you should be really excited about that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you support him. You guys get along?
Yeah, we get along.
Do you ask him? I'll just ask one thing before I leave. Do you ask him dating advice or anything? Like, how old are you? I'm 16. 16?
Yeah, I'm 16.
So you're handsome. I'm sure you got the girls after you and stuff. Do you come home? Do you guys still all live together?
No, so I go to a boarding school, so I live at school. So
Okay, so do you ever call or text him and say, Kyle, I need some help, man?
No.
Okay. Nothing?
No, I usually text him and tell him I'm faster than him. I'm track. So.
All right.
As we close, can I just thank you, Pastor, for having Kyle and for giving him a platform for coming and sharing what he's learned in Christ here recently. I'm so very proud of him. And one thing he hasn't shared about his YouTube is that what he didn't realize is that he actually did have a ministry. And if you look at some of the videos that he shared before, he really was inviting to those individuals who were, like he said, shy or didn't have the wherewithal to approach people, and so he was encouraging those who may have felt like they weren't good enough. And I don't know that that was his goal, but as I began to look at those things, that's what I saw, and that's where he started to get a lot of his viewers. And because of some of the titles, I did not look at a lot of them. But here recently, I did, and I was so impressed with the relationship that he's, and the fact that he's grown with Christ.
Amen.
And I'm so glad. So thank you so much.
And what's your Tracy?
I'm Tracy, yes.
You know what I find about him is the other day they did an interview with somebody. And I thought, I don't want to watch it. I'm not going to watch it. It's about, dating this and dating a person. I thought, but my wife and I were coming back from Vegas, and we put it on. And I was like, wow, that's what started this night, because you're right on something. He, through the power of God, Kyle and my son that night, they allowed God to come into the platform. And when God came into the platform, I was driving, and I was like, wow, man, they brought God right in without being afraid or not doing anything, where it could have switched because they want more views and think, but you got a good view. I mean, I like what you said. You got more views when you started to talk about God.
I did.
And God's never going to let you down. So
yes, he
thanks
did.
for
and
both
I
you
kind of noticed that, and actually then I started subscribing to his channel.
You did?
I wasn't a subscriber.
You weren't? Now his mom's a subscriber. That's awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody that watched tonight, and I want to thank everybody for allowing us to. Mary, did you enjoy it? Did you learn not learn anything, but would you like to do a Mary is Stuart's beautiful wife, and she, I've only got an opportunity to meet her quickly the other day, but she's come here. And, is there anything that you might want to say or anything share tonight about what you learned or give these kids some encouragement?
I loved your comment of the movement starts with you, and just how you are being an example to others just brings the God movement. Just keep going.
Amen. Amen. So keep being an example. And that's a big thing. So let's pray. And this is a good time for our sponsors out there and our partners out there and those who want to give. We normally play money at the theater. We could because we're not in church. So why is it so important to give for shows like this?
Because actors in Orange County love to get paid.
This is what we do at our theater. And do you love to get a blessing?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves to be blessed. And that's tonight, a portion of this goes to Kyle. And so when you give tonight, make sure you give with your whole heart. And if you're out there and you want to use the app to give, go ahead. And it's not all about money, but money helps. And, we wouldn't have this place and this facility. I always look at Kyle and I look at, what's your brother's name?
Jordan.
George?
Jordan.
George. I like George. Jordan. And I look at, and I think, if we weren't here tonight, where would they be? Where would Maria be? Yeah, see, good answer, Maria. But I always look and I think, God, Jeff, right? I just want to make sure you're back. All right. But it's such a great thing to see where we could do this on a Friday night, and where would I be? Probably, I'd be home too, but in my younger days, I'd be in a bar. I'd be partying, I'd be trying to, and if we can get the kids to understand how fun this could be to use their talents and their acts, that's it. And that's what money goes to. So I'm going to pray on the offering, and I'm going to pray for those of you that are watching tonight online to give. And I'm not late anymore. That's my wife. I'm not late. No, I know. I wasn't talking about you. Okay, so so let's pray on this offering. And what are we going to, you want to get that so they can bring it up and put it in here? If you want to give with a credit card or Square, Pastor Charlie will take that. And that's an easy thing to do. Just come up to him when the song starts. And if you want to give a cash and check, give it to him. I intend to have a great offering tonight so we can split it and bless these artists and the church. And, you get blessed when you give. Amen. So, Father, we thank you and praise you. Will you come back on the show?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Amen. And being some of you're the stage manager, so we'll see you more. Don't forget Good Friday. We have a great lineup. We start at 3 o'clock on Good Friday. I'll tell our church about that, but it's going to be Pastor Amy's preaching, I'm preaching. We have music. Then at 7 o'clock, we have a show. Sam's in town. Sunday, we'll be doing the Passover play on Sunday with our new stage. Imagine that. It's going to be awesome. And then Pastor Amy will do her annual Passover dinner on Thursday, like she always does. So it's going to be good. I'm going to have the whole schedule printed out. Amen. So, Father, we thank you and praise you for tonight. I give you glory for this church. I thank you that everyone in this room is touched. And, Lord, if they need anything in their life, touch them. Let them feel you the way Kyle feels you. Let them hear from you. Restoration, the Lord said, needs to take place. Forgiveness. Let it happen tonight. Let families come close. Let the truth win when it comes to what we heard tonight. So that as adults, we could be the example to this young generation. Forgive yourselves. The Lord said some of us need to forgive ourselves. Forgive yourself because he already has, and move forward. And if you're watching this tonight and you have a story, connect with me and talk to me because I'll give you the platform, and I truly do. So put your hands together for him. Go ahead and play the song. Bring your tithes and offerings to the front. And turn the house lights on for me. Have a great night. You can give right there.